It's the United States of Europe. With this week's special guest, comedian John Robertson.
Hooray!
To discuss things like the Greek election and the effects across the EU, as well as the freedom of speech. With me, your host, Greg Shapiro. You know, the EU still doesn't have its own daily show, so we are back for Season 3 of the United States of Europe, giving the EU the respect they deserve by making fun of them, just like everybody else. New this season, we have a hashtag. It is hashtag GSUSE. Search for all things United States of Europe and give us some feedback on Twitter, Facebook with the old hashtag so that we know you're out there. And our guest in the studio is Australia's John Robertson, by the way, of the UK. Look at you and your droogie freaking...
My droogie freaking hat. The reason I have this hat, I think you're well aware, is because we've established that my hair keeps catching the light from the green screen, and rather than appear like some sort of radioactive Chernobyl victim, I've instead managed to co-op a beautiful hair tie from one of your staff.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is, if I take that off, I wouldn't listen to me at that point. You got any money? You know, right. The Greeks don't, but you know, that's all right.
Wow. And that was our Greek
that's cutting-edge satire, ladies and gentlemen. In Australia, you just say the thing that's on your mind very, very quickly while removing your hat.
You know, we've been on tour, actually, for the past week or so.
Oh, we have. It's been a great tour. It's been spectacular. I've left the apartment twice.
Oh, good.
Very good.
Well, we'll get back to that in just a moment.
I'll have a segment soon.
Yes, and now let's check in with this week's news. A week after an historic upset in Greek elections, Europe is still feeling the shock waves. Greece now faced with winning over European creditors, essentially asking them to take another haircut. Eurogroup chairman Jeroen Dijsselbloem said, "I don't think there's a lot of support for another haircut," to which Greece replied, "That's obvious, hippie!" But before you get all dewy-eyed about Syriza taking on the man and all, their coalition partners are the extreme right-wing party Independent Greeks, which, if the debt reconstruction negotiations don't work out, will be more than just a slogan. Greece's new Prime Minister, Alex Tsipras, is faced with the Herculean task of turning around the Greek economy without any money or resources. European Herculean analysts rate the difficulty as somewhere between the Herculean task of cleaning out the Augean stables and the slaying of the Hydra. In this case, the Hydra's 3 heads are represented by the Troika. The Troika being the European Central Bank, the European Commission, and the IMF. That's the International Monetary Fund, not the Impossible Mission Force, which actually might be more accurate in this case. The bad news is, even if he succeeds in defeating the Hydra, Alex Tsipras will still have to get past the Stymphalian eagle known as Angela Merkel, who is all about austerity. Respect my austerity. Maybe Tsipras represents the clean sweep that everyone needs. Notice the only new cabinet position in Greece is the first ever anti-corruption minister. Maybe some transparency for everyone would be the answer. As they say in accounting, sunshine is the best disinfectant. And luckily, sunshine is something Greece has in abundance. You know who doesn't have enough sunshine? Germany. Angela Merkel doesn't have quite enough solar power for her Energiewende to transform Germany to 100% sustainable energy by 2030. Or is it 80%? Yeah, I'm a wonk. What if Alex could sell some of Greece's sunshine to Angela? Then Greek sunshine might be the key to breaking through this Gordian knot, just like Alexander the Great. Not exactly Hercules, but he was Greek. And the news from Greece is also spreading to Eurosceptic parties all across the EU in a show of bizarre cross-European unity not seen since Irishman Colin Farrell portrayed Alexander the Great in a truly awful film. Or for that matter, Scotsman Gerard Butler as King Leonidas of Sparta. In this case, this is Syriza! In Spain, Syriza has inspired the left-wing Podemos party, whose leader, Pablo Iglesias, appeared next to Alex Tsipras and declared hope is on the way. That's how you can tell Podemos is a pretty new party. They're still working on the messaging. Hope is on the way. Sort of like saying, yeah, we ordered hope online, and the hope should be here any day now. We're tracking the hope. It may have gotten lost or it's hung up in customs, but we'll let you know, hopefully in time for the Spanish elections in November. In other news, this past week, Europe commemorated the 70th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz concentration camp in World War II. And in a choice of timing that is truly bizarre, fashion line Gucci released a new design that can only be described as World War II concentration camp uniform. Last year's sheriff shirt by fashion line Zara was apparently not far enough. At the time, that design was condemned as concentration camp chic. Gucci defended its new look as Haute Holocaust. And Hugo Boss replied, boring. Been there, done that. And if you think that joke was offensive, stay tuned. This week we discuss the freedom of speech with a comedian who is no stranger to controversy, Mr. John Robertson. And we're going to check in with some headlines around Europe. This week we're going to check in with good old Greece and Lambros Fisfis.
The headlines.
Lambros, you're there from Greece.
Yes, I'm here from Greece. Greece is still in Europe. Greece is still present. Nothing has changed.
Well, Alex Tsipras is obviously a big new change in Greek politics, but
Yes.
yeah, are there any immediate results in the economy or even in the headlines?
The general thing is basically, yes, the country hasn't collapsed. Armageddon hasn't come. There's still money in the ATMs. Everybody's super surprised. Like, apparently they were expecting that, I don't know, Syriza would come out and then immediately we would change to drachmas and people would be with coupons in the streets and,
Yeah.
I don't know, a kind of World War II scenario in Greece. And it didn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
kind of like the virus of 2000 that everybody's like, okay, the whole system is going to crash. That's it. We're dying. And then
Right.
the New Year's came and everything was fine. And I think that's
yeah.
what's happening. Like, people are realizing that it's not the end of the world, and actually they're realizing that they have a different approach now that they are government. They talk differently, they behave differently, and I think they relate better to the people.
If Tsipras is someone who can clean up corruption, like with this new anti-corruption ministry, then isn't that going to be a positive thing for the Troika as well?
Of course, it's a positive thing, but first of all, it's a positive thing for the Greeks. You know, it starts from locally, you know, and hopefully he can do it. One of the best things in my mind that I don't know that much about politics, about having Syriza there, is that it's a new party. It has never gone in power. They have never ruled Greece. So in a way, they don't have the mechanisms in order to create corruption by themselves. So the others have like a 30-year experience in corruption. They have everything, you know, systematized. They know exactly how to do it. And these are new guys. Even if they decide to do corruption, it will take them some years. So these are good years for Greece, you know.
Nice.
Like, these are kind of corruption-free years, and then hopefully they won't do it, or if they do it, it will take some years to figure it out.
And what about the third most successful party in the elections, Golden Dawn?
You know, it's growing a bit out of like a lack of choice, out of a reaction vote of like, yeah, to hell with all of you, I'm doing this to teach you a lesson. It's both. It's growing also as from people that apparently believe that this is the solution. But in any case, it's clear after the second elections, basically, because last time they were in the first elections was when they really became powerful, that they're here to stay, and it's a problem that needs to be dealt.
Lambros, thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Look at you. We have been touring your show, The Dark Room.
Oh, what a time we've
all
had.
Through the Netherlands.
Great pleasure.
And I'm going to go out there and say, if you haven't experienced The Dark Room online, it started out as a YouTube project.
It did. It started out as a joke on stage, and then the audience rioted, and then I went home and made it a YouTube project.
Oh, really?
There's just something about having 3,000 people who are really there to see you just start screaming, and you get home and you're like, oh, that was a bit good.
Okay.
We got to do something about that. And yeah, I mean, kids were drawing pictures of me in a dark room and all this really weird fun. But yeah, we got time for that. I think possibly the great quote from this tour that you recognised was from the other night in Den Haag.
Yeah.
When an audience member, having been given an otherwise completely nondescript, dear viewer, box, was heard to remark, "What is that? What is that? By God, it's blood! It's blood!" As the contents of the box began to drip on her legs.
That was, yeah.
It was pretty good.
So that's entertainment.
Oh, well, it was for the other members of the crowd. She seemed pretty upset, but I'd already shot her in the face with a glitter cannon, so
yeah.
I don't think anyone really minded.
So that's the kind of show that we're talking about. Obviously, The Dark Room is if you haven't heard of it yet.
A woman covered with blood. What isn't entertaining about that?
Don't you get it wrong? Wouldn't you want to get the blood on first and then the glitter will stick?
Well, foolishly, unfortunately, it hadn't occurred to me that the thing to do would have been to take the sheep's heart and stuff it in the glitter cannon and then fire both things at it.
Oh, that's
what
awful.
You get when you heckle me. There's no wit. There's just a great deal of strained Edward Gorey-esque violence. And I've said Edward Gorey-esque because I've got a hat.
Okay.
There we are.
John Robertson.
Classical reference. It isn't, though. He's from...
We want to ask... we're going to get on to the... official interview in just a moment.
Oh, right. But I'm sorry, I'm an only child. I just like talking about myself.
That was indeed.
I enjoyed your monologue, but I've never listened to another man for that long in my entire life.
We've taken the camera onto the streets and we've asked them about their opinions, and let's see what the word is from the street this week. We have some European leaders who are stepping up, not just country leaders like Merkel or Hollande, but Mogherini is the new foreign commissioner. Do you expect any of these new European faces to step up and be a leader on the subject of European integration?
They have to. I think we have to face the fact that the world changed, and if we not become master of it, there will be other forces which will do it, and we have to. I think.
Do you think that the French government should stop Charlie Hebdo from printing material if it is potentially offensive?
No, of course not.
Okay.
They just made kind of a manifest. How do you say it? They manifest themselves against that and towards the freedom of expression, and they cannot just do that.
And meanwhile, should the French government stop a comedian like Dieudonné from posting on Facebook that he sympathizes with the attackers of Charlie Hebdo?
I haven't seen that, but I don't think you should stop no one for saying what he thinks.
We have to spend more money, in the spy.
What can we do to promote more Europeanness? We should fight for our go to France more often.
Okay.
And sunbathe in the nude.
Okay.
That will teach them, especially if it's me.
Last Thursday I was on the dam. There was 18,000 people, and they were together to say that it's very important to stand up now. In this time to help each other and to be very aware that we have the freedom and we hold the freedom.
Those were a couple of events where we were asking people about European unity in general. And
I was very impressed by sunbathe in the nude.
Yeah, there we go.
I've made a lot of friends that way.
That is freedom of expression.
It really is.
Yeah. But let's talk about the sort of hot button topic this week, which is the French comedian Dieudonné who it was just in the newspaper last week, I believe. International New York Times, they had an article, page 3, about how the man was on trial.
That's very good to make it all the way to page 3.
Exactly.
In the UK, that's normally given over to nude women.
Isn't it?
Sunbathing.
And they were gone for a while, the women.
They were gone for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With no explanation.
Oh, no. As there'd been an enormous feminist campaign to have them removed.
For 1 week.
As in, like, they thought it was over.
Yeah.
And then I believe that circulation dropped on the paper, so they just brought it back.
Is that what happened?
I have no idea, because I can get my pornography on the internet, so I don't need to read it in a newspaper. I certainly can't get any news from that newspaper, but that's not the point.
Page 3 is very different in the New York Times.
No, that's right. It has French comedians who are controversial.
Which might be more offensive to some people.
Well, yes. Let's have a little chat about this fella.
Yeah, well, indeed. He's been put on trial, and obviously, right after the Charlie Hebdo attacks, Dieudonné was in trouble. I believe arrested for posting a tweet about how cleverly worded.
Facebook.
Facebook.
It was a little pun.
Posted online. Yeah,
it was a little pun. There was Je suis Charlie Hebdo. What was his one?
Not je suis, but je sens. I'm feeling like the attacker of the kosher supermarkets, Koulibaly. Sympathizing with, or who knows what it was.
Well, of course, you've got to understand he's got a colossal track record of doing this.
Exactly.
He keeps being arrested for anti-Semitism, various. And I did a bit of research into him because I wondered, I was just kind of like, really, is this an actual thing? And I watched two bits of footage of him.
Yeah.
One thing was him going down to the Parisian Gay Pride parade with his son.
Okay.
Which is a routine that could be described as boring conservative old man has trouble with gay people. Yeah, it's kind of funny, I guess. He does a really good walking on the spot mime. I thought that was pretty damn fine. And and if you want to see a guy with a beard pretend to be a kid holding a balloon, I mean, among the better proponents of that form. But then the next thing that YouTube loads up is this guy doing a sketch called The Deported Jew. And there he is on stage, and out comes someone in an Auschwitz uniform.
Wow.
And then at that point, you go, righto. And the entire sketch is, why am I wearing this uniform? And he goes, because the Jews have suffered. And that's his thing. I'm like, well, no, because you've hired that guy to wear an Auschwitz uniform.
Right.
He attracts an incredible crowd.
That's true.
You're talking about a person who's performing to an audience of many, many thousands. And I think possibly quite rightfully so.
And the more he's locked up...
No, not as in he should be performing to a large audience. I'm just saying, if you're performing to a large audience who quite routinely turn up and do your famous hand gesture, which is an inverted Nazi salute.
Which seems that way,
And then you... Well, it is.
It is.
As in, I've watched an interview with him on the BBC where he gets asked, isn't that an inverted Nazi salute? And he goes... Oh no, that is so silly that you would say that. It's like, the answer you were hunting for was no. That would be the answer, not a sort of patronising villain. Mr. Bond. Not Vladimir Putin's, we can't get out of Ukraine, we are not there.
Right.
Wink. This sort of thing, And what happens is, if you're performing to an absolutely colossal crowd, and your go-to is that guy should be exterminated, and you've got a big audience doing this one, I'm fairly certain that a couple of people are going to go, I think that bloke might be a Nazi. And they might be rightfully alarmed by it. I just put that one out there. I mean,
so it might be what they call incitement to
it may
violence. That would be punishable.
This is the thing. I mean, is he a satirist? Is this done with any degree of tongue-in-cheek? Is it done as any degree of social satire? And most importantly, does his audience take it as that?
Well, this is very theoretical, and it's... I'm going to ask you now about your experiences as well. I mean, have you had any problems with complaints with saying, oh, you can't say that? I mean, are there differences as well between audiences in Australia, around the world where you've performed, and in the UK, which is notoriously politically correct?
Australian crowds have no trouble with being on the nose, and with the UK, it brings me to something I wanted to talk to you about. It's one of the strangest things that I've ever heard. And this is as regards political correctness, right? I was at a bondage night, big old fetish night, and a man dressed as Victorian nanny came up to me, so a very dowdy transvestite, and after offering me, in a very broad Cockney accent, some oral sex in the toilet, right?
Legitimate?
Yeah, no, as in, would you like to come and have me give you one?
But that was his real accent?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, would you like to do that? Up, apples and pears, up me bottle and glass, right? What he then does is he goes, oh, I tell you, this is a great event. I saw Stormtrooper a minute ago, and I went, what, a Star Wars one or a Nazi one? And he went, no, Star Wars one. No one would come here dressed as a Nazi. And I went, what do you mean? There's a guy dressed as a member of the SS over there. And this guy went, oh, that's not on. It's VE Day. I'm like, I see. And so trying
VE Day, Victory in Europe.
Victory in Europe Day. So I'm there going, so hang on. So offering me a degrading blowjob from you whilst dressed as an Edwardian nanny.
No problem.
This is how you commemorate your war dead?
Well, you are no stranger to bondage, and I believe
none whatsoever.
During the recent protests in the UK.
I'm actually tied to this table right now.
We will not let him go until we're done. But there was the face-sitting protests by Westminster. And you were there. I saw the pictures.
I was there. I neither allowed my face to be sat on nor sat upon anyone else's face.
Right.
I did sing quite loudly that great Monty Python tune. It was the most English protest you can possibly imagine.
Wow.
A lot of people wearing tweed, sort of being terribly, terribly naughty.
Yes.
And about a press ratio of about 100 to 1.
Yeah, okay.
Which I thought was just great.
A press riot. So there are some forms of censorship that are no good. And yet, if I'm going to sum things up, maybe Dieudonné should be called on the carpet.
Well, no,
perhaps...
I don't think anyone should be censored. I just feel that they should be conversed with.
Yeah.
All right. By somebody of equal power. Let's put it this way. Let's say he has an audience of 10,000 people.
Right.
Good. Then a left-wing comic should have an audience of 10,000 people.
Right.
And then maybe they can all go and discuss it with one another.
John Robertson, thanks for joining us on the show. That was very funny.
No, it's been a great pleasure.
And if you want to see more John Robertson, you can look up The Dark Room on YouTube.
Dugong.
Dugong.
Dugong. I'm just not going to learn how to pronounce his name. Just don't care.
Mr. Dieudonné Dugong.
Dugong.
How do you like that? Thanks for joining us.
I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares. No.
That was United States of Europe. Please do let us know your comments, which you may well have online. You can find us youtube.com. Please do subscribe. And you can use the hashtag GSUSE for United States of Europe. Thanks again to our guest, John Robertson. You can look him up online and play The Dark Room on YouTube. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.